Welcome back to my channel. Today's story isn't just another SisterWives headline, it's the unraveling of a family empire that once claimed to be built on faith, unity, and eternal love. But behind those smiles and perfectly staged confessionals was a time bomb, and today it finally explodes. This isn't about a TV fight or another tell-all special. This is about what happens when the cameras stop rolling and the lawyers start talking. For years, she played every role they needed her to: the loyal wife, the peacekeeper, the believer. But when she finally stood in that cold, echoing courtroom, she had only one card left to play: the truth. And this time, her audience wasn't the fans, it was a judge. And he wasn't buying the act. The chaos began quietly, with a single letter. A crisp, formal demand from a Salt Lake City law firm addressed to one man, Kody Brown. For months, Christine had tried to claim what was hers. We all saw the tension on the show, the deflections, the fake apologies, the endless claims that the family couldn't afford it. But behind that facade was a much darker truth. Christine's name was tied to Coyote Pass, the land that was supposed to symbolize the Browns' eternal unity. Only now it stood as proof of betrayal. She wasn't looking for a war. She wanted fairness, a buyout, a chance to start fresh with Truly in Utah. But Kody and Robyn? They had other plans. Sources close to the family say they never intended to pay her a single cent. In their minds, Christine's money was their money. And for over a decade, the family had really meant one thing: Kody and Robyn Inc. ignored calls. Ghosted letters. Doors slammed shut. Christine's patience snapped. With quiet support from Janelle, who was fighting her own financial battles, she made her move. Christine Brown filed a lawsuit. The claim? Partition and sale of Coyote Pass, a legal maneuver to force the sale or demand her rightful share. But beneath the legal language, everyone knew what it was: a declaration of war. And when the day finally came, the courtroom transformed into a battlefield. Christine walked in first, poised, calm, wearing navy blue and quiet confidence. Her lawyer, Eleanor Vance, was sharp as a blade and twice as deadly. No theatrics, no emotion, just evidence. Documents, deeds, bank records, LLC filings, all showing one brutal truth. Every dollar the Browns ever earned had been built from shared labor. Christine's lawyer painted the picture perfectly. This isn't about faith, Your Honor. It's about financial subjugation. Ms. Brown isn't asking for charity. She's asking for what's hers. And for a moment, the entire room fell silent. Then came the other side. Kody stormed in, agitated, restless, dressed in black that fit like his conscience. Too tight. Robyn followed, clutching a Bible, tissues trembling in her hand, her eyes already wet before the first gavel hit the bench. Their lawyer, Mr. Davies, went full performance mode, pleading that this wasn't about money but covenant. He painted Kody as a misunderstood patriarch, a man punished for faith. But the cracks were showing. When Kody finally took the stand, it was a train wreck in slow motion. Under oath, he rambled about divine order, his spiritual corporation, and his role as patriarch president. He spoke of protecting assets for the children, while conveniently forgetting the wives who built those assets in the first place. And with every word, the courtroom saw it: the mask slipping, the empire collapsing. Christine sat still, her expression unreadable. Janelle watched from the gallery, her silence louder than any testimony, because everyone in that room knew. This wasn't just about Coyote Pass. It was about years of control, gaslighting, and spiritual manipulation dressed as marriage. And now, finally, Christine was done playing by his rules. The courtroom was silent. Only the hum of the air vents and the faint scratching of a reporter's pen filled the room. And then, Kody Brown leaned forward in his chair, eyes blazing, voice trembling with self-righteous conviction. "Absolutely," he declared. Christine was all in. She was part of the team. We were building something eternal, a dynasty, a legacy. Coyote Pass was supposed to be our promised land, our forever home under God. The way he said it, you could almost hear the rehearsed rhythm, the sermon-like tone he used so many times on television. His lawyer, Mr. Davies, nodded approvingly, guiding him like a puppeteer pulling strings. "So what happened, Mr. Brown?" Kody sighed dramatically, brushing his curls back like a man performing for the cameras that weren't even there. "She changed," he said. "The pressure of the world got to her. She became independent. She stopped respecting the patriarchy. She turned her back on our mission just when our family needed unity the most. She wanted out, and she wanted money to go live her own separate life. His words spilled like venom disguised as grief. He went on and on about loyalty, obedience, faith. He claimed Christine had knives in his kidneys for years, a phrase fans of the show knew all too well. He painted himself as the victim, the devoted husband, the misunderstood father, the man betrayed by the woman he tried to lead. But even as he spoke, you could feel the room shift. The mask was slipping. The performance was pure Kody, grandiose, theatrical, and completely blind to his own hypocrisy. Robyn sat behind him, clutching tissues, nodding along to every exaggerated word. Her lips moved soundlessly. "It's true," she mouthed again and again as if saying it would somehow make it real. Then, like a thunderclap, the energy in the courtroom changed. It was time for cross-examination. Christine's attorney, Ms. Eleanor Vance, stood and walked calmly toward the witness stand. No theatrics. No showmanship. Just quiet, lethal precision. She carried only a single folder, thin, unassuming, but powerful enough to tear down an empire. "Mr. Brown," she began, her voice cool and steady, "you've testified that you're the president of the family corporation, that you make decisions for the good of the whole. Is that correct?" Kody straightened, puffing out his chest. "Yes," he said proudly. "I'm the leader. I make the decisions for everyone's benefit." Ms. Vance smiled faintly, the kind of smile that warned of an oncoming storm. "Excellent. A good leader, Mr. Brown, a good president, would have a clear understanding of the corporation's finances. Wouldn't you agree?" "Of course," Kody said, his confidence faltering ever so slightly. "Good," she said. "Then let's talk about March of last year. When Christine asked you for funds for a down payment on her home in Utah, you told her the family couldn't afford it, correct? That you were drowning in debt from the Flagstaff move?" "We were," Kody insisted, his voice tightening. "We were house poor. We had a massive land payment, Robyn's house, kids to feed. Everyone was sacrificing." Ms. Vance repeated softly, "Yes, all of you were sacrificing." Then she opened the folder. One crisp motion like the swing of a blade. "Mr. Brown," she said, turning toward the judge, "I'd like to direct your attention to the family's joint bank account statements from January through March of that same year, the very period when Mr. Brown claimed they were too poor to help Ms. Christine Brown." The projector hummed to life, filling the courtroom wall with cold, undeniable numbers. Rows of transactions, dates, and dollar signs glowed beneath the fluorescent lights. "Mr. Brown," she continued, using a laser pointer, "can you explain this entry?" February 5th, 2021, a transfer of $50,000 from the joint family account to an account titled RNK Personal Investments? Kody blinked. His throat bobbed. That was a business transfer," he stammered. "An investment for the family." "I see," Ms. Vance replied, voice sharp enough to cut glass. "And what about these weekly transfers?" She pointed again. $2,000 to $5,000 every week from that same family account to a personal checking account, held solely by yourself and Robyn Brown. The gallery murmured. Kody's complexion turned red, then purple. That's for living expenses," he shouted. "We've got a big family. 5 kids at home. It costs money to feed them." Ms. Vance didn't even blink. Her tone stayed cool, razor sharp. "It certainly does, Mr. Brown," she said softly. "It certainly does." And with that one line, the courtroom fell completely silent. Because everyone knew what Kody had just described wasn't sacrifice. It was self-preservation. And for the first time, under oath, the cracks in his kingdom were finally visible to the world. Finally visible to the world. The courtroom had gone from tense to electric. Every spectator was on edge, waiting for Ms. Vance's next move. The air was thick, and even the judge leaned slightly forward. "Does it cost this much to feed a family, Mr. Brown?" she asked coldly, flipping a page on the projector. "Here we have a charge for $1,500 from Victoria's Secret. Was that a family expense?" The question landed like a grenade. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Even the court reporter paused mid-keystroke. Kody's mouth fell open. He stuttered, his composure evaporating. "That's personal. That has nothing to do with this case." Ms. Vance didn't flinch. "I see. And this next one, a $3,000 purchase from a collectibles dealer. Tell me, Mr. Brown, were those figurines for the stockholders? The children?" Kody turned bright red. That's Robyn's hobby. It's not a big deal. It's her money," he barked, forgetting himself entirely. And that's when Ms. Vance stopped. She looked up from her papers. Her silence was surgical, cutting through the chaos with a single word. Her money? The courtroom fell quiet again. Everyone could feel what was coming. "Mr. Brown," she said, voice icy but calm, "just moments ago, you testified that none of the wives had their own money. You claimed all income belonged to the collective, to the family under your leadership. So tell us, which is it? Does Robyn have her money, but Christine does not?" Checkmate. Kody froze. His jaw clenched. His lawyer looked down, shaking his head in defeat. Robyn's face went pale, her eyes wide with panic. The words hung in the air like a sentence. Kody had just dismantled his own defense with his own mouth. The unified family pot he preached about existed only when it benefited him and Robyn. The rest of the wives? They were just the investors funding someone else's dream. Ms. Vance pressed on, her tone sharper now. "Mr. Brown, isn't it true that you and Mrs. Robyn Brown systematically drained the family's joint accounts for your personal expenses while telling the other wives that the family was broke? Isn't it true that you denied Miss Christine Brown her fair share while you and your favored wife lived in luxury?" Kody's voice cracked. "No, that's not true. She's twisting everything." But the numbers didn't lie. The statements were on the screen for all to see. Black and white evidence of financial hypocrisy. By the time Ms. Vance stepped back, Kody looked broken. His swagger was gone, his shoulders slumped. The self-proclaimed patriarch of a spiritual empire had been exposed as nothing more than a man protecting his own comfort. He left the stand in silence. The mighty leader of SisterWives, defeated by a simple truth: money doesn't lie. As court recessed, one spectator claimed to see it happen. Kody walked past Christine and shot her a glare so full of hatred it could burn through steel. But Christine didn't flinch. For the first time in years, she met his gaze, without fear. The defense was crumbling, and now they had one last card left to play. One final witness: Robyn Brown. When court resumed, all eyes turned to the back of the room. Robyn stepped forward slowly, clutching a tissue in one hand, a Bible in the other. This wasn't the confident woman viewers saw on TV. This was the professional martyr. Mr. Davies, their lawyer, softened his voice, his tone almost fatherly. "Mrs. Brown, I know this is difficult. Could you please tell the court in your own words what your role has been in the Brown family?" Robyn took a shaky breath. Her voice quivered as she spoke. "My role," she whispered, "has always been to be the peacemaker. To support my husband. To love my family." Her delivery was deliberate, emotional, dripping with vulnerability. "When I joined this family, I knew it would be hard," she said tearfully. "I knew I was the fourth wife. I knew the others had history. But I only ever wanted to love them, and be loved by them." Every word was carefully crafted to rewrite the narrative. She wasn't a manipulator, she was a misunderstood saint. Her lawyer pressed on gently. "There have been allegations, Mrs. Brown, that you and your husband lived more comfortably than the other wives. How do you respond?" Robyn let a single tear slide down her cheek and didn't wipe it away. "It breaks my heart to hear that," she whispered. "Because it's just not true. We all struggled. We all sacrificed. The move to Flagstaff was hard on everyone, especially Kody. He was under so much stress. I only ever wanted to make things easier for him." Davies leaned in. "So when you made purchases, were you being selfish?" "Never," Robyn gasped. "Every penny I spent was for the family. I tried to be frugal, to look for sales. I only bought things to make our home warm, welcoming. I always said, 'My door is open, come over any time.' But they chose to stay away." She paused, her lip trembling. "They separated themselves from us, not the other way around. It was a masterclass in emotional manipulation. She was flipping the truth, turning her isolation into virtue and the other's boundaries into betrayal. And when she spoke again, her voice grew stronger, more dramatic, more righteous. This idea that I was spending wildly while Christine struggled, it's a complete misunderstanding. Kody was under immense pressure. I was just trying to protect him from more stress. I didn't tell him about every little thing because I didn't want him to worry. I was being a buffer." Then, with trembling conviction, she looked toward the judge and delivered her final dagger. Christine didn't trust the process. She didn't trust Kody. If she needed money, she should have trusted his timing. Instead, she left, and now this lawsuit, it's like she's trying to destroy us. To destroy him. The courtroom was silent again. And somewhere in that silence, the truth stood on its own. Unspoken, undeniable. Robyn wasn't protecting the family. She was protecting the empire she built on Kody's back. She was protecting the empire she built on Kody's back. Writing, welcome back to my channel. The air in the courtroom felt heavy, like the oxygen itself was bracing for what was about to happen. Robyn Brown had just finished her trembling monologue, voice cracking, mascara running, breaths shallow, trying desperately to paint herself as the misunderstood saint of this broken family. She spoke of love, sacrifice, peace, and loyalty to Kody. To the untrained eye, it looked convincing. But to those who had lived through her manipulation, it was a masterclass in self-pity. Her tears sparkled under the courtroom lights, but they weren't moving anyone anymore. Not the judge. Not the jury. Not Christine Brown, who sat watching with quiet, knowing eyes. Robyn's entire act was meant to cast herself as the shield, the suffering wife who only wanted to protect her beloved Kody from the chaos of his other wives. It was the same story she'd told for years, now dressed up for the courtroom. Her lawyer, Mr. Davies, gave a smug half-smile toward Christine's team. The kind of smile that says, "Top that." He clearly believed the performance had landed. "No further questions, Your Honor," he said with confidence. But that confidence evaporated the moment Eleanor Vance stood up. Christine's lawyer didn't need to shout or gesture. She simply stood there, calm, collected, dangerous. The room went silent. You could hear Robyn's shaky breaths echo against the marble walls. "Mrs. Brown," Ms. Vance began softly, almost kindly. "That was a very moving testimony. It sounds like you've carried a lot of emotional weight for this family." Robyn blinked, surprised by the gentle tone. "I have," she whispered. "I always have. And you said your goal was to protect Kody from stress, especially financial stress?" "Yes," Robyn replied, a little steadier now. "And that the other wives misunderstood your intentions?" "Yes," she said again, voice trembling but hopeful. Ms. Vance nodded sympathetically. "I understand. It must be difficult when people don't see your heart." Then she turned, walked back to her table, and lifted a thick binder, its white cover sheet marked Exhibit 47. When she placed it on the stand in front of Robyn, the shift in energy was electric. "Mrs. Brown," Vance said, her tone suddenly turning razor-sharp, "let's make your intentions very clear." She opened the binder with precision. "Your Honor, this is Exhibit 47, the certified expense reports from an LLC registered under the name Dabsark Inc. Mrs. Brown. Can you confirm for the record that you are the sole registered agent of this company?" Robyn's entire face went pale. Her throat tightened. That's my personal business." "Indeed," Ms. Vance replied coldly. "And where does Dabsark Inc. receive its funding?" "It's from my own income," Robyn managed. "And that income," Vance pressed, "comes from your role on SisterWives, correct? A role you only have because of the Brown family?" Robyn's silence said everything. "So income earned as part of the family, which you claimed was too broke to help Christine buy a home, was being funneled into your private company?" Her lawyer jumped up. "Objection. Irrelevant." The judge didn't even flinch. "Overruled. Proceed." And that was it. The trap was set. Ms. Vance turned the first page, her voice echoing like a gavel-striking stone. February 8th, 2021. A charge of $4,500 to Precious Moments Collectors Guild. Mrs. Brown, care to explain? They're collectibles," Robyn stuttered. "An investment." "An investment?" Vance repeated with icy precision. "More important than Christine's down payment for a home?" Before Robyn could answer, another page flipped. February 12th, $2,800 at a jewelry store. Custom designer edition. For the family, Mrs. Brown? Robyn's hands trembled. "That's personal." Vance didn't stop. February 18th, $7,200 to Ladro. A luxury Spanish porcelain brand? Those must be the little things you bought to make the house a home, correct? Each item landed like a hammer. The courtroom could barely breathe. February 22nd, $5,000 to an interior decorator for mood boards. For whose home, Mrs. Brown? Robyn's eyes darted helplessly toward Kody. He looked away. "And finally," Vance said, voice soft but deadly, "February 25th, $1,300 for a custom portrait of your own 5 children. Lovely art, Mrs. Brown, but tell me, was this portrait displayed for the family? Or just for you?" By now, Robyn's face was a ghostly white. Her tears were gone. The performance had crumbled. Ms. Vance turned one last page. "Let's look at March 2021. The same month you and Mr. Brown told Christine there was no money left. Total spending through Dabsark Inc. that month, $32,650 on luxury goods and personal indulgences." The number hung in the air like a curse. "Mrs. Brown," Ms. Vance asked, her voice quiet but cutting, You said your intentions were misunderstood. Looking at this document, what is there to misunderstand? The silence was absolute. Even Kody's lawyer looked defeated. Robyn couldn't speak. She just stared down at the damning evidence, her entire empire of deceit printed in black and white. No further questions, Your Honor, Ms. Vance said, returning to her seat beside a calm, vindicated Christine Brown. From that moment, it was over. The defense collapsed. The rest of the trial was formality. The judge's ruling was swift and brutal. Coyote Pass was to be appraised and sold, the profits divided fairly, Christine included. And on top of that, Kody and Robyn were ordered to pay Christine restitution for funds they had diverted for personal use. For the first time in years, justice had a face, and it looked a lot like Christine Brown's. Kody stormed out, red-faced and furious. Robyn followed, hiding behind her lawyer's arm. No tears, no pity, just pure rage. Christine stayed behind, quiet, steady. When it was done, she bowed her head and cried, not out of sadness but relief. Janelle walked up and wrapped her arm around her friend. Two women who had lost everything to this man, and finally got it all back. The Coyote Pass dream was dead, cremated, gone forever. The walls Kody and Robyn built around their greed had crumbled in one afternoon. And as the world watched, one truth became undeniable. When the spotlight hit the stage, Robyn Brown's tears dried up, and all that remained was the evidence she could never hide. So what do you think? Did Christine finally get the justice she deserved? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. Thank you for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Because trust me, the fallout from this verdict is just beginning, and we'll be here to cover every second of it.